Hi guys. So it's been a while. I think it was late July last time I posted, so I figured it was time for an update. So I'm gonna give you an overall update of where I am now, and then I'm gonna talk about some of my specific goals and where those are. So I'll tell you where I am overall. So my big goal right now, obviously, is to work enough to move out. I've talked about this before, how I receive a government benefit, but that's not enough money on its own. So I'd like to work part time so that between the two, I have enough to move out. Um, I got hopeful that there might be a government resource for me. I thought there might be a subsidy for me. That the agency basically sent me on an 8 month goose chase, and nothing materialized. So as of now, I mean, we're in a housing crisis in Toronto and in Ontario. So yeah, I don't think the government's going to help me. I think I have to keep working towards my goal. And so I am. So as you know before, I babysit most Mondays, many Mondays, and then I was also volunteering at a PetSmart 1 day a week on Fridays. That it was Wednesday, it got moved to Friday, and I've been trying for a little while now to add in another volunteer thing. The idea being, can I handle three commitments as on top of leisure activities and appointments? And I've been trying so hard to find somewhere else. I wasted a ton of time with the Learning Disability Association trying to be a volunteer tutor. Then I was trying to get into a women's shelter, and only after asking for my application and references did they tell me they weren't looking until January. And then it hit me in the shower. The cats on Fridays, that was really easy to get into. It was basically, have you seen a cat before? Do you have two hands? Good, you're hired. Or not hired, but you can volunteer. So I thought I just should add a second day of that in. For no good reason, I chose my second day to be at a different store. So that's been for about a month now. I've been doing cats twice a week, as well as my babysitting, and it is going well. I'm kind of bored with the babysitting, so I might wrap that up, but I can handle it. I'm handling the 3 days a week. And then in terms of what am I doing these other days, in addition to appointments, um, I think I talked about in a previous video different leisure activities I might like to pursue in the future. One of those is photography, and I'm actually probably after Christmas I'm going to take a photography course. Although I think it's only 3 sessions, so it won't be an ongoing. But that'll be fun, and to see myself doing that and getting out and doing things when I couldn't a few years ago is pretty amazing. I'm looking at some notes on my phone here, so if you see me looking down. Oh yeah, so the other thing that could be exciting is potentially driving lessons. I'm going to be getting an assessment at a special needs driving place, and my hope is I've been able to get funding so I don't have to pay for the assessment. It's over $600. And my hope is that everything's fine and I can take normal lessons because their specialized lessons are very expensive. I just want to make sure between my reaction time, my distractibility, my various body pain, I think I just want assurance that I can drive safely, and hopefully it's a yes, and then I can just go do normal lessons, and I'll feel much more confident. Driving is scary to me, so I think having this assessment, if it comes out positive, um, I'll be a lot more confident to take driving lessons after the winter. It's snowing as I speak, so not a good time to learn to drive. But that's another thing I'll be doing. And I was going to a group on Tuesdays. It was unfortunately only 6 sessions. And it was at Carrie's Place Autism Services. It was for people, adults on the spectrum. And I had a love-hate relationship with that group. I loved how included and accepted I felt, which I don't experience a lot. But then it also highlighted some areas I need to work on. A lot of it goes back to self-confidence. Like one guy was talking about how he feels that naturopaths have done a lot more for him than standard doctors. At no point did he attack me. He didn't say anything I was doing was wrong or invalid. I have no idea what he thinks of me. But in my head, it still pokes at my self-confidence. It still makes me think, am I doing something wrong? And I have to keep reminding myself that I am satisfied right at this point in time with the healthcare decisions I've made. But it really pokes at my self-esteem, um, self-confidence. When someone's saying sort of the opposite of what I do, I start questioning, am I doing the wrong thing? And the other challenge in that group, and these are good things that the group brought up, because now I know I need to work on them, is disagreeing with people. Like political conversations online are always, crap shows. I need to learn how to not be a comment section in real life. We have a very controversial Premier of Ontario right now, and it turns out one of my group members is a supporter of him. Our voting is not proportionate. He has more power. His percentage of power in Parliament is higher than the percentage of people that voted for him. He's quite controversial, and I need to learn how to, agree to disagree. Um, so these are good things for me to know, good things for me to work on. And I think that goes back to self confidence as well, because it's poking at, I'm not confident enough in my own. Oh, I definitely have opinions, but I'm not that confident in them. It's easy to shake me. And I need to, like, no, it's okay. It's okay. This is what I believe. And it's okay that that person doesn't believe that. Um, hmm. Oh, yeah. So that the group was interesting, and I wanted to continue to meet with adults on the spectrum. I found the Asperger Society of Ontario. They have a once a month outing for adults on the spectrum, and or on the high end of the spectrum, I should say. They're impossible to communicate with. On the website, it says, call them, give them your email address, and they'll contact you with outings. They never do. I think I got one email from them. I got a new. Actually, no, I got two things. I did get one invite to a group outing, which I declined because it was a Thai restaurant, and I got a newsletter about fundraising, and I've never heard from them again. But that is something I would like to do for, it would help me with those issues above and others. And then there's also that feeling of acceptance when they're also on the spectrum and they've had similar, especially if they're similar in age to me and they had similar experiences in school and the like. Um, so yeah, that is something I would like to pursue more. I hope I can find some group, even if it's not that group. So I'm gonna move on now to my sort of smaller goals that were involved in getting me back to work. In addition to seeing that I can physically handle being out, like right now, it would be the equivalent of working about 9 hours a week. What I'm doing, and I'm happy with that goal. So I can physically see that I can do it. So these are some of my other goals. So one of them is emotional control. I had a big revelation recently when I started reading about ADHD in adults. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was only 6, and I, for a long time, thought it was a misdiagnosis after I received the Asperger's diagnosis. But recently, I decided to look into it because after I got the OCD diagnosis and started reading about it, it answered so many questions and made sense of a lot of things to me that I didn't, know about. That I thought maybe I'll learn something from this. And I go to the library. I don't like researching medical stuff online, particularly mental health. I tried researching depression, and I ended up in a rabbit hole. Depression is not real. The DSM is baloney. Doctors are in the pockets of big pharma. It's very easy to get cynical and distrusting if you spend too much time online. So for medical things, I prefer to go get library books. And so that's what I did. I got books on ADHD. And the biggest news to me was that my emotional responses are impulsive. I know that I can be behaviorally impulsive. I was hyperactive as a child. I remember like trying to climb up a bookshelf, jumping off the back of the couch. I remember those kind of behaviors, yelling things out in class. I didn't realize though my emotional reactions, being so quick to anger, my low frustration tolerance, that's also impulsivity. There's no filter. There's nothing stopping me. Something makes me angry, and there's no doorway or gate in my brain, stopping me and saying, "How should you react to this?" I just react. A good example was not too long ago in a grocery store. I was with my mom. I got impatient waiting in line, so I left and got on a bus and went home. All my brain could think was, I need to leave the store. I didn't stop and problem solve the rest of the way. And now that I know I have this impulsivity, like for me, knowing why I do something helps me change it or stop it. So seeing now I'm seeing it everywhere. Seeing that I have this impulsivity in my emotions, and I think too that's why I come across as so sensitive. If I think someone's criticizing me, because I just react. I don't stop and analyze what they're saying. I just react. And so what I've been trying to do is stop and not just react. And I'm actually liking the mindfulness techniques for that. I did my 8-week mindfulness course over the summer. And I like using those techniques to just sort of stop myself for a couple of minutes and ground myself. It's also really good when there's a lot going on around me and I'm stressed. I can stop and ground myself. Um, yeah, so I'll continue on the vein of therapy because I discussed the sort of new information I've gleaned researching ADHD, and what that tells me, I already knew, and reinforces, is I need to have as many tools in my toolkit as possible for emotional control. So I have done cognitive behavioral therapy in the past. I use some of those tools, and I did the mindfulness, and the place where I did mindfulness, the Canadian Mental Health Association, the guy suggested I try art therapy. That lasted about 20 minutes. I thought it might be working with different mediums like clay and stuff, and it was just drawing. And the whole I think it was no 10 weeks. The whole 10-week thing was drawing pictures. I had flashbacks to being in school. I was waiting. It felt like the other kids were at any minute going to start teasing me for my bad drawing. I didn't, yeah, so I left. I didn't want to do it. It wasn't for me. But there's other therapies out there. The CMHA at a different location has dog therapy where you can go interact with therapy dogs. So I'm gonna probably sooner than later. I'm gonna try that out. And then in terms of um other group therapies or other therapies I could do, that's my phone dinging. Sorry. There's a therapy for OCD specifically called exposure and response prevention therapy. That might benefit me. I'm gonna go more into my OCD in another video, probably not too long from now, because it's quite interesting how it's intertwined in my life and how it's impacting me. I didn't even know all these years. Sorry, my screen went off. There we go. Um, so I would be interested in ERP. My psychiatrist has recommended something called dialectical behavior therapy. I've read about something called acceptance commitment therapy. So the way I see my emotional control goal is that there's no expiry date. There's no, I have to do this by this goal. The goal is just to continually improve. I'm 29 years old. I have many decades ahead of me, probably. No one knows for sure. Um, yeah, so over the years, I plan to just keep adding to my toolkit, whatever types of therapy. I'm already, I see deficits in myself now. I'm able to say, wait a minute, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have said that. I do feel different. I do feel more aware of my emotions. I do think, though, I might want to get a second opinion on my mood disorder diagnosis. I'm diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and I'm not 100, which is also called clinical depression. Not 100% sure that's the right mood disorder because, like in October, I had a depressive episode that went on for about 3 weeks, but within it, there were a few days where I was like deliriously happy as opposed to depressed, and then I go back to depressed the next day. I don't really know what to make of that. Maybe maybe I'm on the wrong medication, maybe I have the wrong diagnosis. I think I'm gonna finally bite the bullet and ask for a referral to a new psychiatrist. My other one I'm not a huge fan of. Um, yeah, so this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm gonna make it a two-parter. So I'm going to wrap up now with the overview and emotional control, and then I'll follow with a second video about my other goals, which were to get my pain level as low as possible and to figure out why I'm always fatigued. So I'm going to stop this and head into the next one. Thank you.